Hello, I'm Dr. Selma Bartholomew. Welcome to the Dr. B Show. I'm excited to have the opportunity to engage with you. I'm an educator, an entrepreneur, and I'm also a mom. And I'm excited to take this time to connect with you and share some of my experience and some of my expertise. My goal is to inspire you to have courageous talk on turning the corners of life. That means we get to explore a range of topics in life, from education, parenting, leadership, community, and other zippy topics. Thank you for joining me. The topic for today is purpose. That's right, purpose. How do I define it? And take a moment where you are, and I want you to scream it out loud. That's right, Dr. B is asking you to scream it. Purpose. Why is purpose so hard to find? Why is purpose so hard to hold on to? Why do we all need to find it, hold on to it, and make decisions that are truly purpose-driven? I work every day with teachers, with leaders, with parents, with students, and stakeholders to really transform schools and organizations, transform teaching and learning. For me, this is mission-driven work, which really rests on making our schools a place of purpose, a place of passion, and a place of innovation. One might question and say to me, well, Dr. B, isn't a school or university automatically a place of purpose and passion? Well, to have this courageous conversation, I want to create a safe space for us to be honest. I want to say to you that education has and will always continue to have an unprecedented effect on our lives. However, the historical design of our schools and our educational institutions were not about helping students discover their purpose and their passion. Yes, I know we have enrichment programs in schools and universities which students participate in during the summer or after school, and that certainly helps our students and our young people discover their interest. However, what I'm talking about is a more holistic approach in the systems and structures and the nature of relationships between students and educators that's not really evident. I'm talking about publicly this issue exists within our educational system as a nation. And so our educational institutions were never historically designed to be a place of purpose and passion. They were really designed as factories, right? And the purpose really revolved around the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And let's be honest, not all people had even access to education throughout our history. The idea of designing a school and designing an institution and learning experience that are truly and deeply rooted and connected to purpose and innovation is not how most schools operate today. I do believe that educators and policymakers often have the best intention, and they want our schools and our universities to be about purpose. Yet there are so many structural roadblocks and ingrained beliefs that get in the way. And that's why I want you to scream it. That's why I want us to have this dialogue today on purpose. So this conversation, like all of my talks with you, is not just for the educator, it's for you as a parent or a leader. And if you have a heart, then this conversation is certainly for you. It is a question that anyone, any part of their day and their life should be asking if they want to make a change. So if you're a leader in the process of taking a deeper look at the work of your organization and really wanting to transform outcomes and take a different approach, then this conversation is for you. If you are at a point in your life where you want to make a change and you're finding it hard to kind of figure out the next steps, and you know that you need to claim your purpose, then this conversation is for you. So I appreciate you sharing your time and your energy with me today as we really get to unpacking this idea of purpose. I appreciate you sharing your time and energy with me today as we reflect and get to unpacking this idea of purpose. I want to also take a moment and say to you that if you have not seen the video on paying attention, you may want to watch that one before this video on purpose. In that video on paying attention, I talk about shifting the focus from paying attention to what's on the outside in our external environment to paying attention to what's on the inside. And when you begin to pay attention to what's on the inside, your soul, your spirit, and what's happening to you physically and mentally, then things begin to drastically change. So when you begin to pay attention to what's on the inside, you then want to find your purpose, your passion, and really mind your pearls. So once again, if you've not seen that video, go ahead and you can find it at any point and take a moment. You ready? Feeling thirsty? Let me say that again, and I'm going to say it aloud. Are you feeling thirsty? Yes, you heard me say thirsty. There will be those that might argue that there is no such thing as purpose, an internal magnet that is pulling your spirit to a direction of change and transformation. Those individuals want you to suck it up and buy into the mindset of, don't worry, just be happy. But if we took the time to ask a different set of questions and establish a deeper and more personal relationship with our friends, with our lovers, with our neighbors, with our staff and our colleagues, we would discover that people, when they feel safe, that they would give voice to the sense of thirst that they really have. When people feel thirsty and unfulfilled, they reach for distractions and seek to numb the constant thirst. When we take the time to listen and allow people to really explore their stories and examine their behaviors, you see that there's so much noise out there that hides the truth. As humans, we are constantly seeking connections. But let's be honest, you can't really have 1,000 friends. And most important, the friendship begins with knowing yourself and discovering what you bring to the relationship with others. You can't decide on the relationships you want to have and will not make those best decisions if you don't know your purpose. I think that when you know your purpose, you make decisions in a very different way. How do you know you're not living your purpose? Are you feeling unfulfilled and frustrated with your day-to-day? Get ready for this. Are you tired of getting caught watching someone else do the work you should be doing and the work that you know you can do? Are you complaining about how things can be better and not sure about how to get started? Pay attention to your spirit and how you're feeling when you're frustrated and in a space when you know that you don't belong in that space. Look at yourself and ask, are you truly meeting your calling? You know that there's something calling you, but you may not know how to answer. And worse yet, you may not even feel prepared to answer. Are you tired of making excuses about why you can't answer your calling? I know that this takes courage because we all have fears. And I can't promise you that if you take the risk that there won't be failure. However, I've come to know that in life, it is the things that you don't do that brings you regret. There is never a wrong time to get out of your own way and claim your purpose. It will not be easy to figure out, but you can't waste another moment, another minute in time allowing fear to consume you. I want to talk a minute about the noise. The noise. Let's talk about purpose and that noise that you need to be aware of if you're going to be purpose-centered. No matter what time period you live in, if it was 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or even 1,000,000 years ago, every season has its own noise. To figure out your purpose, it's necessary to recognize the noise and how your day-to-day decisions are being affected and driven by the noise around you. More importantly, you need to be mindful that if you're constantly succumbing to the noise, that you are truly denying your soul and the spirit and the prosperity that comes from claiming your purpose. Noise? What do you mean, Dr. B? Let me give you an example of the noise that exists in our society today. If I asked you to define a word such as opportunity and you don't know the meaning of the word, then you would most likely reach for your phone to Google it or search it on the web. Times have changed. You instinctively know that you can access the dictionary, right? Whereas several years ago, you may have actually walked around with a physically hard copy of the dictionary. You can pull the information you need when you need it. So noise exists in both push and pull. Let's consider the daily news. If I met you on the street and I asked you for the weather, you would grab your phone and you would find the weather in less than a minute. In fact, you might be even able to tell me the weather in your neighborhood, but you can also find the weather in Paris or any other place in the world. Yet 9 times a day, we lose at least 2 or 3 minutes per news hour on the weather. It adds up to about 30 minutes a day. Dare I ask you to do the math over the course of a week, a year, or your lifetime? Consider how many minutes that you have spent watching the news or consuming the weather when you can easily find it on your phone. I think we have deep-rooted problems facing our community, mental health issues, which is reflected in the physical violence, crime, homelessness, and so many people feeling hopeless. Deep-rooted problems which we can only solve by coming together as a community and shifting to purpose. Yet 30 minutes a day is spent on the weather, which you can access in less than a minute on your handheld phone. Do me a favor, don't send me any emails about how you love your weatherman and your weather person. I love them too, and I appreciate their personalities. But I think most of them are scientists, and without a doubt, they are smart and they're funny. But what I'm asking about is a courageous conversation and to really help you to demonstrate what happens when you're not mindful about the push and pull and the types of distractions that take your time and, more importantly, your energy. I challenge you. That's right. I'm challenging you to take a closer look at the systems and structures that steal your time and are stealing you from the prosperity of the heart that comes when you know you are living a life of purpose. Your purpose is worth fighting for. In our time period, there is a constant noise from media and within our society, and there are no shortage of distractions and the push to get your attention. The message is clear. Buy more, and you need another happy experience, maybe another reality show. I feel like at times I'm at the point where I just want to start a campaign and say, put all of the distractions on one channel, and we'll all agree to watch it an hour a day. I'm willing to do that if it means getting more meaningful content, especially for our children and our young people who are at the stage in their life when they need purpose the most. To claim your purpose and to live a life of purpose, you have to become more mindful of the noise. The nature of work is also so overwhelming. Let's be honest. We're working longer hours, and the expectation in the workplace is to give more for less. By the end of the day, you feel exhausted, unable to connect, make sense of the day, and what's really in your heart and in your mind. There's even less time to take care of our children, our aging parents, and our partners. It is deeply troubling that most people are not even able to find a quiet time to reflect, meet up with ourselves, and to get to know ourselves without the distractions and without the noise. I'm being honest with you. You cannot reach your purpose if you don't stop the noise. Here's another challenge for you. I want you to take a moment and really chart your time. How do you spend your day and your week? And think about what you need to eliminate And you need to eliminate things in order to find the quiet. Maybe you need to get up early, turn off the devices, which allows you to go to sleep earlier. I personally have instituted a rule where I don't take calls after 7 p.m. How is that possible, Dr. B? Well, I took the time to communicate with my team, with my clients, and with my loved ones. And accept. Accept what? What's the worst that can happen when someone calls you? They'll get a voicemail? Why do I turn off the devices? If I don't put on my ear mask, then I cannot be in service and to service to anyone else. When you begin to take the time to learn how to become more reflective, stop constantly adulting, and accept the quiet, then you will be able to deal with the thirst that arises from not living a life of purpose. I want to talk a moment about prevailing beliefs. Purpose is hard to find in light of so many prevailing beliefs and mindsets that are really deeply rooted and entangled in your mind, in your emotions, and keep you back from making necessary changes. Prevailing beliefs like what? Here's one. Don't worry, just be happy. That prevailing belief fuels expectations and actions around what it means to not worry, and worse yet, what happiness should look like. So for example, today everyone is competing for the best selfie so that they can prove to their many friends and families and followers that they're not worrying and they're happy. Consider, for example, the recent documentary on Chernobyl. The creator had to remind people who decided to flock to take selfies that if you visit, please remember that a terrible tragedy occurred there. Comport yourself with respect for all who suffered and sacrificed. They were not visiting for historical memory or to lay flowers. Instead, they came to take a selfie, which reflects the mindset of don't worry, just be happy. There are several other prevailing beliefs, and I can't possibly unpack all of them in today's conversation. I'm putting out a challenge flag for you to share a few which may have held you back from reaching your purpose. Or maybe after this video, you might take a moment and examine your thinking and your ingrained beliefs, and some may be really revealed to you. I welcome the opportunity to hear about those from you. I want to say to you that I am well aware that I have not and have yet to define purpose. So I appreciate your patience, because sometimes conversations like this can't be rushed, and the price that we pay for quick fixes cost us more in the long run. I want to talk a moment about the fact that doing purposeful work is not the same thing as living your purpose. I've also learned this on the journey, that doing purposeful work is not the same as living your purpose. So I want to share a really personal lesson learned, and I want to kind of contextualize that for you. There has never been a point in my life when I was not in a classroom. So I've taught at the high school level, I've taught at the college level. I was either in a class or as a student or teaching at some point, or working in collaboration with educators. If it's okay with you, let me take this and really get very real for you. I want to share a very challenging season in my life with you. I'm going to go back about 10 years. It was in 2008, the time of the recession, and I was faced with the uncertainty and the vulnerability of having just lost my job. If you've been there, then you know all the doubt and the internal churn. That's right, the internal churn. The churn that makes you just do the automatic response. For me, the response was, time to get another job. It is one of those ingrained beliefs. Therefore, I, like so many, was on automatic pilot. I immediately started to do the job searching. I confidently told myself that you just need to find another company that you can rely on. Shortly after starting my search, I was invited for an interview with a company in New Jersey. I accepted the invite, even though I lived in New York. I willingly made my way across the George Washington Bridge. I met with the leadership team, the staff. I like them, they like me. The job was to be a VP, and it was described as being the right hand of the CEO. I would manage the operations, take care of the staff, and ensure that the systems and structures were in place and working. Imagine that. I started to tell myself that this would be perfect for me. After all, what else could I want? I get the title of VP, so I started to make a plan in my head. Maybe I could move my son out to New Jersey, buy some dirt, and even learn how to use a lawnmower. When I got the third call back and request for another face-to-face, I just knew that I had slayed it. There I was, sitting in this lovely little garden with the president of the organization. She looks at me and she says, "Dr. Bartholomew, at this time, I can't offer you the job." I was floored. When I asked, "Why not?" get ready for her response. She said, "Well, my staff would love you too much, would love you more than they love me." What did she just say to me? Now, certainly as a Black woman, I thought I had heard it all before. I've been told you're overqualified, you're underqualified. I've heard that we can't hire you because you're too ambitious. If you can name it, I thought I had heard it. Never in all my life I had been told that I'm not getting the job because I would be loved too much. I left there, got in my car, and I immediately called my dad. We were very close. And with a very thick West Indian accent, my dad says to me the following. He says, I said, "Dad, the woman told me that I can't have the job because I would be loved too much." My father, who had a way of talking, who never once raised his voice to any of his children, said to me, "Your back must have been hurting you." Here I am calling my dad for sympathy, so I dismiss what he was saying. "Oh, no, Daddy. No, my back is not hurting me. It's my pride. My pride is hurting me." He says it again. "Your back must have been hurting you. You were sitting in a place where there wasn't a table." I said, "Oh, Daddy, you're not hearing me. I was sitting down in her office, and she had the nerve to tell me that her staff would love me more." A short time later, I got a call at 5 a.m. in the morning. My father had been rushed to an emergency room. I made my way to St. Luke's Hospital in Harlem, and there was my old man, laid out on a cold table. And with all my strength, I'm demanding, "Daddy, get up." In that moment, I got the lesson. In this life, there is no table. It was in that moment that I understood the lesson that my father was trying to say to me. That there are times in this world where you just want to be comfortable. You just want to be comfy. You want to feel safe. You don't want to feel so vulnerable. I didn't want to reach for my purpose. I wanted to hide out in New Jersey, blend in with the burbs. I'm saying to you that if you choose your purpose, that there's a level of discomfort that's going to come with that choice. There is no table, and certainly there is no spoon. So if you're seeking to be comfy, I've got news for you. You may have to remain thirsty. I realized in that season with the loss of my dad that I was doing purposeful work, but I was not necessarily living my purpose. In that season of loss, I claimed my passion and I made a decision to start my own business. I didn't sleep. I just poured my energy into my business plan. 10 years ago, on the day that I had my very first sales meeting, closed the deal, it was also the same day that I made my way with my siblings to the same block in Harlem where we grew up, walked into Benter's Funeral Home on the corner of 145th Street, and had to choose a coffin for my father. I discovered that in that season, that doing purposeful work is not the same as living your purpose. I had taught all my life at Women in Group Home. I've taught math, I've taught physics, and I've even had the pleasure of teaching at a university level. I had managed large National Science Foundation grant. I had worked all across the country building programs. But it was not until I actually stopped and accepted the quiet, and in that quiet, I had a moment to examine myself and forced myself to answer the hard question. What's the difference that you are seeking to make in this world? How are you going to yield what's in your hand in a different way? Only then was my purpose revealed to me. So I'm having this honest conversation and courageous conversation with you, and I'm trying to tell you that no matter if you think life has been good to you, be careful. You might be engaged in purposeful work, but that does not mean that you're living your purpose. Pay attention to what's happening to your soul, to your spirit, and what's on the inside. Then things will become more evident to you. The noise drowns out your internal voice. When the noise is coupled with prevailing beliefs, it creates walls that prevent you from meeting up with yourself. You don't have to look over your right or your left shoulder for answers. Just begin to really search inside your spirit. I know it's not going to be easy to name, but I promise you that when you do find it and claim it, life shifts. I am confident that when you make a decision to live a life of purpose, things melt away and your whole perspective changes. When you live a life of purpose, you make decisions in a different way. All of the stuff that's coming at you, you can now say, what's the priority? And what is it that I need to be doing now based on my purpose? When the challenges come, you are able to stand in your choices and say, I'm not holding on, I'm going to hold on to my purpose. When you fulfill your purpose, you make decisions about relationships differently. It's life-changing for both men and women. Consider the crisis of domestic violence within so many families and communities and how our children are being impacted. When individuals, both men and women, learn how to pay attention to their soul and their spirit, then define their purpose, they develop the tools to recognize the nature of individuals and the kinds of relationships they want to have with their partners, with their husbands, and with their wives. Oftentimes, if someone ends up in a situation where it is an abusive relationship, I always question when it was really revealed to them that that person's character was controlling and unnerving. Was it revealed early? That's a question that I talk to with my young girls. Was there a twisting of the elbow early on that maybe she ignored? Maybe it was exciting at the beginning when a lover would question, what'd you do today? It was cute, it was inviting, but did it really send off the internal warning? Did it go off? And did you choose to ignore it? Because the prevailing belief was that he or she loves you so much, they want to know all about your day. When you don't pay attention and trust your internal compass and guide, we stray. We stray from our purpose, and we can't find our way out of abusive relationships and out of things that don't benefit you. Consider, for example, the prison population today. It's at an alarming rate. How many are caught up in a prison system because they think that 5 minutes of making a bad decision led them to 20 years of time to regret that decision? I think that if you look at it through the lens of purpose, I think it's more than 5 minutes. It's a mindset that was forged from never knowing your purpose. And as a result of getting caught up and not having the skills and the strategies to control your thought and action and direct yourself to a purposeful life, right? Then you get caught up in 5 minutes of what you think is regret. This is a leveling up approach and somewhat sequential thinking about our lives. So once again, I'm saying if you pay attention to what's happening to yourself and your spirit, then once you can learn how to pay attention to what's happening, your internal compass begins to guide you to an answer now that you will have to listen in and a different way and accept those answers. And now that you have the answers, you will have to juxtapose those answers with finding your purpose and the choices that you make. You will make better choices in your relationships because you can now see if this person and their values is truly aligned with your purpose. Get ready. I'm ready. Are you ready for me to define purpose? You sure? I'm ready. How do I define it? I realize that others will define purpose in a different way than I'm going to define it, and I'm all right with that because our ability to reason is what separates us from the animals. Not everyone has to agree with me, and in fact, to become a critical thinker, you need to generate questions. So are you ready? I'm ready now to define purpose. Purpose is experiencing and achieving greatness by choice. I'm going to say it again. Purpose is experiencing and achieving greatness by choice. Why are you thirsty? I think the thirst comes because you know that those individuals that are around you is not really fulfilling you, not feeding your soul and your spirit, and you're thirsty and you're yearning for your soul to be heard and expressed in a different way. When you define purpose as experiencing greatness by choice, you now have to make hard decisions. If you're in a moment that is not greatness, you have to let go of the fear and be courageous and say, I'm going to go choose greatness. I'm excited to let you know that you have a choice. You can choose it. You have to make the decision that you have choices and what it is that you want to experience. If you say, I want to experience greatness, once you've made that choice that you want to experience it and you want to achieve it, your decisions change immediately. You begin to reflect on your past decisions in a new light. You now say, what do you need to do in the now to reach greatness? What do you need to do for yourself? What do you need to do in this moment? It creates a whole other level of thinking, and it creates a whole other dynamic around you and those people that you engage with when you decide, I want to experience greatness. It's a non-negotiable for me. I want to experience greatness. It shifts your paradigm. And more importantly, it shifts you. Because then you could sit in a moment and say, this is not greatness. This is not greatness. If you're in a moment that's not greatness, then you can truly begin to own and say, I want to experience greatness, and now I'm going to now make some choices in a different way. Finally, as I bring this discussion to closure, I want to say to you that I do believe that purpose is inextricably linked to God. Purpose is linked to the Creator. Our soul is cast in this body, and you're constantly leading it forward. The greatest mystery in life is death. But until the answer of that mystery is revealed to you, you must know and believe that the time you have on this earth is precious, not to be tossed away lightly. I call it our dash, year to born, year to death. Don't throw your dash away. So now as we kind of think about purpose, I'm hoping that you begin to shift your paradigm and really own your choices and own your greatness. I want to say thank you, and I give thanks to you for sharing your time and for sharing your energy with me today. Thank you for joining me on the Dr. B Show. Have a great day.